Hey guys, this is Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com. We are going to take a look at the NFL Week 1 cheat sheet. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough. I will update this tutorial probably about Week 3 once we get some more information. As always, we've got 5 tabs down here that we're opening the season with, and then as the season goes on, we've got 1 or 2 more tabs we're going to bring in for prize picks, player game logs, projections, similar to what we had last year, but since we don't have any game logs for this year, I went ahead and left it in the background. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. So over here on our main tab, you can see we've got all of our standard information here. We have our DraftKings and FanDuel salaries, projections. We have our averages. For week 1, we're just pulling last year's average. So someone like Bryce Young down here, of course, they didn't average anything last year because they weren't in the NFL. We also have our Vegas total for the team so you can see what they're projected at. DVP, I kept it short and sweet this year. We've got the DVP specific to the position that player plays, and then also the overall team DVP. So you can see like here, this would be a good spot. They're 29th to that position and 27th overall. Again, this is pulling from last year because we don't have anything yet for 2023. Sliding over, these are our projected stats. I love looking at these when I'm doing same game parlays. I'm looking at prize picks. I want to see, what are they projecting? Kirk Cousins, passing yards, passing touchdowns. If it is a top 10 or bottom 10, it's highlighted in the green. So like rushing yards, the top 10 are highlighted up here. You could even go through and sort by it. And then over here, it's hard to see this right now, but this is our fantasy point production over recent weeks. So I'm going to look at the last 7 weeks and show you the fantasy points that player has scored, and we'll fill it in as the season goes on. Similar to what we added in NBA that everybody had a lot of success with. You can look and see, and we may even color code that like we did last year on value based on current salary. So this main tab, this is kind of your go-to if you want to get an overall, mainly for fantasy, because you're going to see a lot of projections, salaries. Something new that we added in this year, you can see, sort this out by like QB1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. So you can see who's projected higher, if they're the wide receiver 1 or the wide receiver 2. And then you can go over here and we color coded in the salary. So that's our main tab. Over here on our bet model, this one's short, sweet, to the point. This is basically for any type of sports betting that you want to look at. To give you a quick walkthrough, we have our custom power rankings over here. If you're new to us, when you click in these boxes, you see on the home team, this caret drop down comes. Now in college, you have to change both of them because there's 130 odd teams. But here you click in the home team and then you just pick which game you want to see. And then it will flip the top team for you and then kind of, bounce around. It's going to show you the Vegas projection, Vegas projected score, team total, line, all that good stuff. These are not ours. These are from T-Ranks and PFF. It's not their exact power ranking model, but we put a little twist on it to kind of give you a rough idea of what the industry is looking at. So these 2 sites will tell you roughly what the line is. Again, it's not exact, but gives you a ballpark. Now, our custom models and lines, I love doing these for college football and NFL, are going to be these 2 boxes here. The one we're going to use for week 1 is going to be down here. So I went through all 32 teams, pulled out their projections, looked at what their YPP numbers were for last year, where their projected defense is supposed to, and made some tweaks and changes. So it's not their exact last year's stats. I did tweak it for additions and stuff, but this is going to be what our model is. And what you're going to focus on is right here. So we have our projected score for each game and our projected line. So for example, Minnesota at home, they are -5, or at least they opened -5. And we have it projected around 25 to 19, so about a 5.5 point line. So we got pretty close to what Vegas is. Vegas has it at 46. We got it at 44.5. So that tells me the numbers I put in here are going to be pretty decent because we've got a couple games that are close to what Vegas actually is. As far as these boxes over here and this box up here, it runs all off of current season stats. And since we don't have any, I just left them at zeros and I'll start filling it in week 2. But week 2, week 3, week 4, you get some fun stats because stuff's a little skewed, but it's fun to look at as always. This is also going to give you our projected rushing and passing yards for the game, so that's a lot of fun, and our total yards. So for week 1, flip through, look at this. This is what's going to show you our projected model. Down here, I love looking at the schedule and results. So as always with our sports, we've started bringing in the team schedules, and then the results will update for the following week. And then for NFL, we have the projected lines for the games down here. So you can see if you're doing team totals or win the division, you can kind of look and see what a rough projected line would be, based on the current stats right now if these teams play down the road. So you can see like when they would be a dog, when they would be favored, et cetera, et cetera. As always, our stats before I had them kind of skewed. They were like all over the place in here. Some of the places we pulled data from that had really good information went upside down and out of business, so I had to clean it up a little bit and change some stuff around. But over here, I kept it nice and sweet. All of our stats are going to be right here. Again, there's none for this year, but we've got all of our offensive stats, passing, rushing, total yards, rushing yards per attempt, defensive pass rush yards, total yards allowed. Your rank is going to be over here, so you can kind of see roughly who's ranked high, low. These are our points per game stat, plays per game for pace, red zone TD percentage, allowed red zone TD percentage. These YPP stats, these are used for calculations. I just kept them clean. If you're familiar with them, here they are. You're welcome to look at them. If not, don't worry about it if you're just an average bettor. And then over here, we have our sports trends. People love these. So you can see I pulled in last year to the side so you can see like what their overall record was, what they were against the spread, the over-under record, and then home road ATS as a favorite, as a dog. And then we're going to have the same thing for 2023, and then also the current streak if they've covered so many in a row and whatnot. So all your betting stuff is going to be right here with our custom models. I'm possibly going to add a scoreboard like I did in college football where all the games are sitting side by side. But again, that's something I'm looking at maybe week 2, week 3, once we get some stats that I can put in there, because it'd be pretty bare bones for week 1. Now, flipping back over to fantasy, I flipped up the DFS stacks. So there's 5 common stacks here. So we've got QB with wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1, tight end 1, wide receiver 2, tight end 1, wide receiver 1 and 3, 2 and 3, wide receiver 3, tight end 1. So these are the, 6 common stacks for each team. And so what it's going to do, it's going to list out the players. It's going to list your Vegas total. So if you want to sort by teams projected with the highest total, and then based off the current projections, it's going to send you the combo cost, which you can see some of these are down to $13,600 all the way up to $20,900. And then the current projection, the current value. So these are really good. And I left some room to add some more stats in here. And then these are going to be the averages. Again, these are the averages from last year since we don't have anything for this year. But we have all of the teams projected in here. I just pulled out Kansas City and Detroit since they already played. But you can come in here and you can kind of sort this and say, okay, by projected value. So right now we've got Burrow, Boyd, and then Irv Smith Jr. is projected at the highest value. You might like it, you might not like it. You can see here, of course, the Miami stack's projected to do really well, but it is pretty expensive. You can say, hey, what are the cheapest stacks on the slate? Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, and Musgrave. You can get those 3 for $10,900. And then you can also see the most expensive stack is going to be Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith for $22,600. And then the current averages are going to be coming up. Sorry, my dog is biting my feet. Anyways, and we've got some more information. I know we did a target per $1,000 of salary. So once we get some targets, we'll add this in next year. But I really like this. This is kind of a fun stack. And you can even come up here when you're searching stacks and say, okay, Chargers are projected for the most. So out of these stacks, what combo is projected the best? What combo averages the best and whatnot? So something a lot of fun to play with if you're into DFS or in our weekly DFS league. Your DVP data, we're going to open this up a little bit. I cleaned this up a little bit from last year. So over here we have our fantasy points for each team per position. So what they're allowing to the QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then the overall total. And then over here, these are just the ranks. So if you don't want to look at these numbers, if they hurt your eyes and you don't want to know, like New Orleans is allowing 7.3 points to the tight end, how does that rank? You can come over here and say, okay, well, that's the hardest. Green is giving up the most points. Red's the toughest, so I kind of broke it down. So top 7, bottom 7 are highlighted red or green. So, for example, last year you could see Houston was tough or didn't give up a lot of points to QB wide receivers, but they got killed by running backs, which is probably why the teams really didn't have to throw that much. Then over here for your specific position, so QBs, we have the total rank, and then we have fantasy points, and then pass yards, pass TDs. Running backs, we have points, rush yards, rush TDs. Wide receivers, we added in receptions along with yards, TDs, etc. down for tight ends, so it gives you a good DVP look. Over here to the grid, so of course there's nothing in here, but I left it on here so I wouldn't forget it for week 2. So what this is going to be, I pulled a screenshot from last year's fantasy grid to kind of show you what it looks like. When you build, you get your DFS stack and you're looking at everything. So this is from week 17 last year. So this is what it's going to look like going forward. We're going to have the salary. This year I brought in DK and FanDuel. Last year I just had one salary, position, team. But you can see over each week what their fantasy points, what they've done. And then if you focus right here, if it was 5x their current salary, it is red. If it is 4x their current salary, it is green. 3x it is gold, and under 2.2x is blue. So you can kind of get an idea. Like here we see Mark Andrews in weeks 2, 3, and 6. He hit 5x on his salary, so he did really well. You can also come over here, make sure you can see that, and sort by 3x, 4x, 5x. This is just a counter to show you, hey, I want to see who has the most 4x games. And then if you're looking to fill in certain spots in your lineup, you can come over here and compare it to the salary and say, okay, I need a tight end. Where can I go? And it will give you some stuff. If there's anything else you want to see added on this page, let me know. One of the things I was thinking, we could also add DVP, but you can sort by 3x, 4x, and 5x to give you a number. But again, I went ahead and left it up here going forward. Last year, we did have the player logs with prize picks. We will add that once we get some data for this year. But for week 1, I'm going to go ahead and get this baby loaded up so you guys can play with it, have some fun. The algo you see here is pending. Of course, I'm going to wait till we get some current stats before I add stuff in there. But I'm going to get this posted. It is the 9th, so NFL kicks off tomorrow. So good luck, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Post it in the chat. If you want to see anything added or anything I'm missing, let me know. As always, usually weekly, these sheets will kind of change, update, we'll add, we'll tweak some stuff. And anyways, I look forward to having a fun NFL season, and good luck, everybody.